toxins in the environment can all cause epigenetic changes that rapidly age us.
Girl, you've got questions. Questions about your body and how to feel good in it, about your hormones and how to keep them in check. Questions about your sex life and your whole health. Can you imagine having a best girlfriend who was also a triple board certified OBGYN? A girlfriend doctor you could call and ask or tell her anything. Someone who could show you how to live any stage of life, before, during, or after menopause, in a big, bold, and beautiful way. Well, friends, I'm your girlfriend doctor. I believe you are meant to flourish and shine, to embrace life and awaken to all its possibilities. Let's get there together. Welcome to our show.
You know, longevity begins in the womb. What we do for our health matters for generations. And I think science is only beginning to really realize the intensity of that statement, that longevity begins in the womb. We see drugs, as I mentioned during my last podcast on hormone disruptors and do no harm, is the fact that, you know, widely prescribed DHEA was used to help maintain a pregnancy. However, it wasn't effective and created third generation problems. We talked about some of those in the last episode, but I want to really share what are common things today that are having genetic and generational outcomes. Not to be doom and gloom, I promise you I'm going to give you a lot of hope, because I'm going to talk about age reversal techniques that each and every one of us can do starting right now, that's going to make a big difference in our lives. And no matter how old we are, I'm particularly as an OBGYN fond of discussing obstetric issues and when life begins issues, because again, longevity starts in the womb. What we do for ourselves matters for generations to come. And on an community basis, the healthier we are, the healthier relationships we have in community, the healthier and longer lived our life is, in a better quality of life. At the end of the day, we want to say, gosh, I have loved well, I have laughed a lot, and I have given at least as much, if not more, than I have received. And you know, love, laugh, and give. It's a great motto to start the day with and to end our lives with, and to really recognize how valuable each and every one of you are and how gifted each and every one of you are in your life and in your roles and in your purposes and passions. So let's make the duration of our life as healthy as possible, and not be restricted to a chair or wheelchair or bed, or not able to remember who we are, where we came from, those we love standing around us. It does seem tragic, and it feels tragic. And caring for patients like that and their families, it is a true tragedy. And if what we know now are things that can be done to reverse this, prevent it altogether, man, like make that front page news. So I'm bringing it to you ahead of the curve, as usual. This is Dr. Anna Cabeca. I am the girlfriend doctor, and I am here to inspire you, educate you, and hopefully make you laugh and some form of entertainment one way or another. Really, it's all about nurturing our body, nourishing our body, educating and awakening our mind, awakening to what is real and pertinent to us at this moment, and shining from the inside out. And of course, connecting with those and others that, with ourselves and others that we really love. So welcome to the Girlfriend Doctor Show. And I'm going to talk about longevity today. And with that, I'm going to just start with reiterating a little bit about endocrine disruptors. In my book, The Hormone Fix, which if you don't know, it's also SOS Menopause in French. The French edition came out and they retitled it SOS Menopause, which I love it. Préparez-vous à vivre des années fantastiques, to prepare you for fantastic years the rest of your life. So in the hormone fix, I have a whole chapter on endocrine disruption. Again, not to be doom and gloom, but to recognize what we do for ourselves and our family has consequences, has long-lasting, even generational effects. As we saw in my last episode when I talked about diethylstilbestrone, it was touted again to be something all moms should take. All moms should take it so that they can, ensure that they don't have a miscarriage or, preterm birth. I mean, really a lot of pressure on moms, you know what I mean? And that's just tragic. And doctors thinking, again, without the research. And this was very interesting because I just came from the Vinci 50, a conference that is held, bringing together 50 leaders in longevity medicine, age reversal, anti-aging. And I was invited to attend, and it was quite an honor. And I was able to hear some key speakers, the first of which is a Dr. Gregory Church, who is a professor at Harvard University. And I'd asked them the question about like science and some of the studies and FDA approval. And he thoughtfully replied, he said, we absolutely should, and the FDA should require third generation animal studies before mass distribution into the public, into moms to be, dads to be. But third generation studies should be done, and animal studies are quick. I mean, they can be very, very quick and give us a good idea. But the fact is, a lot of the most, if not all, most of the medications that are released today still don't have third generation studies. And we need to start looking, because in our environment over the last 100 years, there's been hundreds of thousands of chemicals, and many of which are reported to be carcinogenic and inflammatory. And so I want to share with you some things that each and every one of us can do to make some simple changes in our lives so that we can have the highest quality of life throughout our life, right? Throughout our life. So in chapter 7, I say, protect yourself from toxic overload and hormone disruptors. And I go through some easy things that we can do to reduce toxic exposure. And I'll review a few of those with you. And I want to talk about some of the most common places we get it in our cosmetics, in our food supply, in our food chain, in our water, our drinking supply. If we consider the number of drugs that are in our drinking supply, really cannot drink water out of a faucet anymore. Really cannot. And I am definitely I'm in my new condo, but one of the first things I'm doing is getting some shower filters on, because what goes on our skin can get absorbed in our body. Our skin is our first line of defense, hence the typically acidic pH of our skin. So we want to improve that overall. So removing toxic disruptors. I'm also going to talk about the key areas that do affect our longevity, and with that, epigenetics. And this is one thing at the conference that really emphasized was epigenetics. Over genetics, the environment that we're in, the lifestyle that we keep can overpower some of the worst genetics. But knowing what those genetics are, that's really powerful. So if you don't have your 23andMe yet, the health profile, please get it, because not to alarm you, but to prepare you and better arm you with things that interventions that are easy to do that can support your body, like methylation. A key longevity factor is how well we methylate. And if we do have impaired methylation, we want to improve the methyl factors. So from dark green leafies, foods rich in B vitamins and methylated folate, as well as supplementing with methylated folate and methylated B vitamins. So that makes a difference in the type of supplementation. And that was pretty much unanimously agreed upon. And so other places that we, get toxic exposure is from things that are treated, like especially fire resistant treated fabrics are quite toxic to our endocrine system. And that can make a really big difference. So our skincare, our cosmetics, so choose your toxins carefully, right? And limit them whenever possible, limiting your toxins. But that's a really big thing. GMOs that we know have can potentially affect us, and also generationally. So we want to choose organic food whenever possible and fresh as possible food. Just a reminder about that. We've talked a lot about that in the past, but that makes a difference. And one of Dr. David Sinclair, who wrote The Lifespan, fabulous book. He's also a very well-known, very popular researcher at Harvard University in longevity and age reversal. And his book, The Lifespan, recommended reading. Also talks about the big endocrine disruptors. So I want to share some of the big ones that he mentioned, but also, again, some of the things that I write about in my book. And first is PCBs. Anything with PCBs are considered highly toxic. DDT, which was a pesticide that's used, it's still generationally present, at least 3 generations. And so we're not exactly sure how long it's going to take to get out of our system. But dioxins. So dioxins are a byproduct from the production of chlorine-containing products like pesticides, wood preservatives, and the bleaching of paper. And they can linger in the environment for years and pile up in the food chain. And they diminish the production of thyroid hormones and testosterone and mimic estrogen in the body, and are also linked to endometriosis. And I think it's really interesting because a young man came to me recently, 24 years old, with low testosterone levels and a hypothyroid functioning, so a elevated TSH. And his doctor prescribed testosterone, and that was it. I'm like, first we have to address the thyroid. We have to address the underlying reason why a young, healthy male would be low in testosterone. And so we need to look at endocrine disruptors like dioxins. College graduate student, lots of exposures, and what we can do to clear some of these chemicals from our body. But we want to address that. Heavy metals can affect both the thyroid and hormone production, chronic stress, surely, and other endocrine disruptors. So my approach to this young man is to do a endocrine toxicity workup. You can do one at, for example, Genova Labs. They do environmental toxin screening and heavy metal screening. So definitely want that testing. And then address the thyroid. First of all, do a better workup. The workup was not good. So we need to look at thyroid antibodies, free T4, free T3, look at reverse T3, and antithyroid globulin antibodies and thyroid peroxidase antibodies. That would be part of the workup for this young man. It makes perfect sense, right? But also with testosterone levels low, what's the precursor levels? What's his DHEAS levels or progesterone and pregnenolone levels? Certainly we want to know that, right? Wouldn't you? I mean, of course, I'm being sarcastic here, but yes, we want to know that. And we need to start thinking about that, but it's not part of every physician's toolbox. The other piece of that picture, if you're suffering with low testosterone, is where did that and this is true of both men and women, but where is that testosterone going? Is it going towards estrogen? Then you might get man boobs. We call those moobs. No moobs, we don't want them. So, but it could lead to that testosterone converts to estrogen. And is it converting to a healthy estrogen or an unhealthy estrogen? What do those metabolites look like? We have to think this through. The other place testosterone could be converting to is dihydrotestosterone, the very potent male androgen hormone. Dihydrotestosterone, guilty cause of the hair recession and male pattern baldness. That is not uncommon. And, understanding why is that going, the enzyme action or inaction that could be driving that. And that's another way to address this. But what also is blocking this hormone disruption? Could it have been something, his mom was exposed to in pregnancy? I mean, longevity starts in the womb where, and we do need to be, I'm not giving any moms guilt here. Look, I'm living life too, right? but we're not aware. Most of us haven't been aware of that and the potent complications of this. Now there's no excuse to not be aware. We need to demand third generation studies looking at fertility, looking at reproductive health, because we are seeing an increase in infertility, an increase in early menopause and early andropause or hormone deficiency symptoms. So we want to address that. So there are many things. The other thing that is phthalates, which are very common. I mean, it's the plastic bottles we're drinking out of. So we want reusable shaker cups. I use ice shakers, shaker cups. They're stainless steel, clean, awesome construction, and just perfect. So I use the ice shaker cup. And using that for hot and cold, and not drink, and bisphenol A's and BPAs. We want to avoid that. If we, I don't know about you, but every once in a while I get my to-go coffee or tea. The plastic lids, you need to take those off right away, because that is full of bisphenol A, and that has detrimental consequences on your hormones. It's a huge disruptor. It's BPA for short, bisphenol A, is found in plastics. It's used to make also lining of metal food cans and dental sealants. Another area, I think, in dentistry, it's kind of archaic. I think we do a lot of things in dentistry that hopefully in 10 years from now we won't be doing. But anyway, I always say it's worse going to the dentist than the gynecologist. So I have my bias in that. So, but a lot of, certainly dental amalgams have long been known to have a high toxicity rating, and we need to avoid those. But we also need to avoid the epoxy resins where the BPA can exist, and drink something hot, and that's going into your nervous system and blood supply. So we want to avoid that. Oh my gosh, yeah. So between BPAs and phthalates, well, phthalates are added, as I mentioned, to plastic products to make them strong, yet soft and pliable. They're also used in carpet backing, paints, glues, insect repellents, hairspray, and nail polish. So yay to the cleaner nail movement. That's really important, and not using hairspray. And of course, we have healthier options. And I think I use healthy hair oils instead nowadays. But again, we want to minimize our toxins, minimize our toxic exposure. Phthalates have long been known to suppress ovulation and normal estrogen production, and cause premature breast development in young girls, and also contribute to PCOS, according to many scientific studies that have been performed over the last 10 to 15 years. So that's important to look at that. So whenever possible, store in glass, and don't heat in plastic. Don't use plastic containers. Don't microwave your food, and look for BPA free on the label. Although the BPA substitutes aren't necessarily that good, and you're like, oh my God, what do I buy? Buy fresh, whole food as much as possible. Other areas that, you think of this off-gassing of chemicals is in a plastic shower curtain, your dry cleaning bags. So using an organic fiber, natural fiber shower curtain, quick fix, and, having a green, clean, dry cleaning is a good option. Remove the plastic bags before you bring it into the house. And that's another, again, quick fix for some of those things that we love doing. And another big place for BPAs is those receipts we get and I just think of the cashiers, and they're always touching these receipts. I want them to be wearing some, we could go back to those elegant cotton gloves, and can wear those elegant cotton gloves. Wouldn't that be good? And you can just wash them at the end of each day. But, because even plastic gloves, okay, there's some toxicity there. It's a nice barrier, better than touching the BPA all day, the receipts. So those receipts are creating hormone disruption. And I typically don't touch a receipt unless I have to. I don't ask for the receipt. Now, of course, can pay by phone, but also just take a snapshot of the receipt and have it discarded. But our cashiers really need to think about that, but definitely forego touching the receipts as much as possible. So those are really some key things. And I mentioned pesticides, and that is, I think, it's a strong and necessary statement to say, stay clear of glyphosate sprayed food by seeking out products that does have the USDA organic label. Now, I know that is really ass backwards, because why should we label something organic? It's born and raised that way, right? Or nature makes it that way. Instead, things that are chemically altered and treated should be labeled like glyphosate treated food. I mean, it's kind of backwards the way we do it. And that kind of upsets me, because it puts a financial burden on natural growers they have much less of a margin than the mass produced, mass sprayed agricultural farms. And so we have to consider that and really support our local and small farmers. And I know my audience, I know y'all do this. And for those hunters in there, like, I think that's great. I just think that, we have to avoid the farmed, sprayed, injected as much as possible, because it doesn't just get into us, it gets into the next generation. And so look for that label. It's worth the investment. It totally is worth the investment, as it is more expensive, but we do want to support that industry of organic and natural, and really demand that chemically treated, altered natural foods, etc., are so labeled as that they are altered. So heavy metals is another big one, as I gave in the case of the young man who has low testosterone. Heavy metals are huge endocrine disruptors, and we can think of mercury from fish and certainly in our food supply, but also amalgam dental fillings, but lead also, which is a component of air pollution, and in paints and dyes, ceramic glazes, among other things. So heavy metals are certainly linked to many women's health conditions. And like, for example, cadmium, mercury, manganese, lead, and arsenic all limit fertility. And moderate lead exposures increase the risk for spontaneous abortions and complications in pregnancy. So I often test my patients for heavy metals, especially when they're having infertility, and I treat with natural chelators, because a chelator is designed to bind with heavy metals so that they can be removed safely from your body, excreted safely through your stool. Vitamin C is an example of one that is just natural and really has dramatic improvements. And I typically will do 2,000 to 4,000. I use a vitamin C initially and work up sometimes to higher doses if I'm working on chelating. But also certain foods we eat that we can naturally add to our diet to help chelate. Again, detox, retox. So natural foods to help detox heavy metals include foods that are high in sulfur. So our garlic and our ginger, our cilantro, onions, broccoli sprouts, and eggs all help scavenge and safely remove from the body toxic metals that they come into contact with. Curcumin also reduces the toxic injury to the liver produced by some of these toxic metals. So I think that's really important to recognize that there's certain foods, and they're all keto green. So they are all keto green foods. So detox first, increase your vitamin C, then support your gut. Like, we don't want to start moving metals if we're not having bowel movements, because then the toxins can reabsorb. So having 1 to 2 bowel movements a day on average is necessary. Any less than that, it's constipation, and it's toxic to your system, because you're just reabsorbing toxins when they're meant to be gotten rid of. This episode of the show is sponsored by Mighty Maca Plus. Mighty Maca Plus is the superfood green drink with over 30 amazing ingredients, including adaptogens and kosher organic maca from Peru that really work together to help support your body, balance your hormones, decrease inflammation, and give you that energy. Stop that 3 o'clock lull, as well as help you get a better night's sleep. So if you're feeling sluggish, struggling with PMS, brain fog, hot flashes, low libido, or other issues, it is time to try Mighty Maca Plus. It is just what the doctor ordered. To try Mighty Maca Plus risk-free, go to dranna.com and use SHOW10 to get 10% off your first order. Okay, so Dr. Church from Harvard talked about the biological hallmarks for aging. So I'm going to tell you what those are, and then also certain things that we can do that are definitely going to improve all of these markers, all of these things. The first is chromosome maintenance, DNA repair efficiency, and telomere erosion. So when we have problems with our DNA, when we have genetic errors, or there's a disruption to our code, or our DNA code, then that rapidly ages us. That is a trauma to our genetics, and it ages us rapidly. So the second thing is senescence. That is just natural aging of cells, but it can be rapidly advanced because of life stresses and environmental stresses like smoking, for instance, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, inflammation. All of those things can rapidly increase senescence. And inflammation is in a category of its own, that it does accelerate aging. The more inflammation we have, the more rapidly every cell in our body ages. And that's from our brain to our heart, to our bones, to our hair, to our skin. And fourth is mitochondria quality control. Mitochondria are the energy powerhouses of the cell. It's, if you remember the Krebs cycle back in Biology 101, that's where we learn about mitochondria and their ATP energy making. So healthier mitochondria lead to healthier cells. And the same thing when mitochondria are functioning poorly, and it could be from nutrients, and it can be from toxins, and it can be from enzyme deficiencies. All of those can cause, poor quality mitochondria. And that's going to lead to rapidly declining energy, exhaustion, crashing, fatigue. We often relate that to mitochondria. Fifth is proteostasis, and we're not changing, not improving, not growing. And sixth is immune dysfunction. So the, genetic autoimmunities and environmental autoimmunities, anyone with autoimmune issues, even Hashimoto's thyroiditis is a very common one, multiple sclerosis, another one, autoimmune suppression from medications like steroids is another one, all increase rapid aging. And seventh is metabolic dysregulation. So problem with our metabolism, and we look at things like your basal metabolic rate, and look at the lower it is, the more unhealthy we are. And so improving our metabolism in general. And then finally, epigenetic changes. And these are things that also, again, cause problems with our genetic expression. But so things like I just ran through, toxins in the environment, can all cause epigenetic changes that rapidly age us. And we don't want that, right? We want to age well. So let's just start with talking about some things that we can do to improve the way we age. And number one, and definitely recommended by everyone at the meeting, was certainly glucose regulation, to get a nice steady state glucose. And in Keto Green 16, I wore a continuous glucose monitor, CGM for short, every day for, for almost a year. And as I worked with different recipes and I saw what increased my blood sugar and what doesn't, And so it's important to kind of identify that for yourself to see what changes your blood sugar, what can, how do you keep it nice and steady for most time, right? I say 80% Keto Green, 10% fasting, 10% feasting. So metabolic flexibility does help. And of course, with glucose regulation, we want to avoid the carbs, we want to avoid the sugars. And for, my advocacy is certainly for women through menopause at this time of highly neuroendocrine vulnerability. And we want to support women, and we want to support men, of course, right? They go hand in hand. So we want to support all people, but especially women during menopause when our progesterone and pregnenolone levels are plummeting. Estrogen is plummeting also, and glucose utilization in the brain is being sacrificed, is suffering, because gluconeogenesis in the brain is estrogen dependent. In other words, switching to ketones is brain food because it does not depend on hormones to use ketones for fuel. And the more we can get into a positive state of healthy ketosis, like being keto green, the healthier and more stable your blood sugar is, the improved cell health and mitochondrial function you have, and metabolism. These are all longevity increasing. For women, I say 16 hours of fasting. We can do more, and typically a minimum of 13 hours of fasting, but on average, I like to see 16 hours of fasting between dinner and breakfast. We work up to it from 13 hours, get up to 16 hours, do periodic extended fast, and do periodic feasting with healthy, great foods. And I want to see you do that because you will improve the quality of your life. And no, test, don't guess. Know when you're in ketosis and know when your blood sugar is high and what's keeping you out of ketosis. It could be a favorite food that's, disrupting, causing an insulin sensitivity and inflammation, which can then increase cortisol and can increase blood glucose. So there's a cycle to this. I explain it deeper in Keto Green 16, but we want to really do a low glucose diet and get into the state of ketosis, especially through menopause when we're in this state of neuroendocrine vulnerability, to really help us mind, body, and spirit, and improve our energy, our quality of life, and certainly our longevity with this. I had a client today in the Girlfriend Doctor Club, Mary. She is in her late 60s, and she has been doing Keto Green for a while, and she's struggled through her life with elevated lipid levels. And she said her doctor reported to her yesterday that her lipids are in the normal range and look better than ever. And she is feeling amazing. And so we have to stay with this, stay with the Keto Green lifestyle, 10-80-10 rule. So stay with the Keto Green lifestyle. The benefits come more and more the longer we persist with that. Just like staying with Julva. I mean, my gosh, ladies who've been with Julva now for a while are report constantly that their vagina is 20 again, and it's creating amazing changes in their lives. So persistence pays off with these, and I have the cases to prove it. So maintaining a stable glucose, nice, low, stable glucose, not these peaks and valleys with snacking and carb-ridden meals throughout the days, is a true hack for longevity. So we definitely want to do that. The other thing is knowing your nutritional profile. Like, do you have an MTHFR gene defect? Are you a poor methylator? Because healthy methylation is a marker of longevity. Those who are who have the genetic SNP are will age faster if we don't intervene with healthy methylation factors. So the greens in Keto Green, methylated B12, methylated folate. Again, the type of supplementation that we use is really important. You can just look on for example, my Keto Green shake. It has it has the most active bioavailable forms of the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that you want. I mean, they are the highest quality. So we look at methylated Bs and methylated folate and how that can really make a difference in your quality of life. So that's in there. That's just a given for my product, creation, so that you have that in the protein meal replacement. You have those activated vitamins and minerals to be available for your body to use, and that makes a difference. The other, thing that we can do to improve is temperature extremes. So when we live in a climate controlled world, that also can increase senescent cells. So having extremes of temperature, cold, heat, are beneficial. And I like the heat preferred over the cold, but maybe you've seen some of the ice baths and cold plunges that have been used for, millennia to improve performance and to reduce disease and illness. And it's true, it can really help. We talked about supplementation too. So I'm going to hit on a couple supplements because, as you know, like I'm a big believer in supplementation as necessary in creating the most healthy combination. So what a few supplements that were talked about in the conference were turmeric or curcumin. So as a potent anti-inflammatory and gene regulator, it will help correct inflammation in the body, and it's antioxidant. Quercetin, a precursor to CoQ10, also longevity promoting. Green tea extract, another antioxidant and powerful anti-inflammatory. And resveratrol. Dr. David Sinclair did original research on resveratrol and found it to have improvements in longevity. Now, of course, you've heard me argue about this, but I definitely see the benefits of resveratrol, but also say that the wine drinking communities gain benefit because they are celebrating with each other, laughing and toasting and telling stories and being in good community, all of which increases the most powerful hormone in our body, and that is oxytocin. So is it the wine or is it the good community? All right. So I for sure it's the good community, but I believe in resveratrol enough. All of those that I just mentioned are in Mighty Maca Plus. So the quercetin, the green tea, and I add in cat's claw extract, another potent anti-aging, some great studies to support healing in cancer with cat's claw herb is potently, has been potently and scientifically shown. Other things like grapeseed extract, mangosteen, those are some of my favorites. And of course the greens and enzymes and the oat-beta glucan, tremendously beneficial to support our immune system. And of course, maca, adaptogenic in the cruciferous family, supports adrenals. Anything that can support adrenals makes a big difference. Dr. Greg Fahey talked about DHEA, and I've been deep into the science of DHEA now since the 1990s. And what, saying that DHEA is certainly supportive for longevity. We want to keep our levels up. We want to keep our levels in the high, the optimal ranges for women and the optimal ranges for men. So for women, 150 to 200, for men 100 to 300, 250 to 300 even, and supplement, but certainly support the adrenal glands. With Mighty Maca, we had clinical studies which looked at using 2 to 4 scoops of Mighty Maca a day and saw a 70 to 200% increase in DHEA in just 2 months. So we wanted to support our body's own natural production of our hormones as much as possible. And the combination superfood blend certainly does work great, not to toot my own horn, but it's been in practice now and in use for over 14 years with physicians recommending it from around the world. I've had people using it for that long, including me and my family. We see the results and again, long-term benefits. So the combination has worked really, really well and test energetically very well for my clients. So supporting yourself with antioxidants. Another antioxidant that was talked about in the meeting is NMN. NMN is a precursor to NAD, and NAD is hugely anti-inflammatory, supports our mitochondria, energy producing. And so the recommendations is to use that, to support our body with producing NAD, and that's supplementing with NMN can really help. So I think that may be a supplement I add to my regimen, but my regimen, so for years and based on continued science, is the Mighty Maca. I usually do 1 or 2 scoops once or twice a day, and start that in the morning. And then with my multivitamins when I break fast, with omega-3, with a multivitamin and mineral combination with albion micronutrients, chelated minerals. You can see what I take every day. It's in my Superwoman packs on my website, the Superwoman packets. So take them basically. If I go on vacation, I take vitamin holidays, drug holidays. I mean, I take holidays when I go on vacation, and sometimes when I'm traveling, unless I'm really traveling sitting in a conference all day, I add extra, even though there's detox support in my Superwoman capsules. I add extra detoxification support because of all the chemicals that are used, the off-gassing from the furniture and conferences, as well as ventilation. So I'll take my additional detox support to do that. And in my Superwoman packs is also carnitine and CoQ10 to support mitochondrial function. So great science with the anti-aging benefits of those. And of course with omega-3s for brain health, for joints, for collagen production, for decreasing inflammation, for glucose stability. It's a great reason. And we use the highest quality omega-3 in my supplements. So I have that. And then in the evening, I have my progesterone, my balance cream that I'll use. And I rotate places I use it because it's progesterone and pregnenolone with tripeptides and some essential oils, alternating where I use it. It's also been shown to dramatically reduce age spots. So once I've applied it, face, neck, typically chest, can put it on lower abdomen, also in the perineal area, inner thighs, but where you want to put it on thin skin. But typically we don't have age spots on thin skin. It really reduces thin skin. That's why I keep it on my chest, and really has reduced age spots on my chest as a big time Leo sun worshiper. But then rub the excess into the back of your hands and sometimes down your legs, and that's a vanity call for the balance cream too. And at my toilet, there is Julva, and I put it on toilet paper and will wipe with it, making sure I get it once a day. It's at my bedside. It's on my vanity. I keep it visible everywhere. I have some here because also use it on my upper lips, so to reduce lip lines and lip bleeding. And it's just been an amazing bonus. So a sneak peek of what's coming down the line is my Lip Love Kiss formula, my Julva Kiss formula, and my Lip Duo formula. So I have more of an ointment-based Julva for the lips so that we can use that to reduce our lip lines. And so that will be coming out and packaged for a smaller tube for our lips and a smaller tube of Julva for our lower lips. And it is going to be called the Lip Duo. So look for that coming up. We'll be announcing as soon as Julva Kiss comes out, because you are just going to love it. It's good for men and women. It is amazing to reduce those fine lines and wrinkles that we get on our lips. So the part of anti-aging is from the inside out and outside in. So things that we do to help support our longevity is critically important. Another supplement that was talked about and by a couple of researchers was spermidine. Spermidine is it sounds like what it is, a component of sperm for sure, but we all produce it, men and women produce it naturally, and it's showed some longevity improving effects. And in fact, in the Taoist culture, because Dr. Pedram Shojai, from well.org, if you're familiar with his website, also author of The Urban Monk, was there, and I got to sit and chat with him, and he led a morning energy Qigong type meditation and showed us an exercise to increase our natural flow and upward push of spermidine through a breathing and physical exercise. That was really nice to go through. So yeah, so just in different practices that we can do to help improve our own production of our natural longevity producing substances within our body, and to improve that. And then to, finalize practices that improve longevity. Certainly, we have the stem cells, and using very small embryonic-like stem cells, VSEL, stem cells intravenously and injected intramuscularly have been shown to have anti-aging and age reversal benefits. So I think as more science comes in support of that, that is the science of the future, with stem cells and peptides and exosomes. And there are very cutting edge practices that are using this, implementing this, and having amazing, amazing results. And I think it's really powerful to see this science being birthed. And since I was on the Age Management Medicine Scientific Advisory Committee, in 2010, there's a whole stem cell arm of that in orthopedic medicine, and now it's more widespread usage, although limited by the FDA for practice in many conditions in the United States. So we want to look at that and look at really good clinics that are doing stem cells, exosomes, and peptides, and the strong benefits for that. In my book, the Keto Green 16, I talk about BPC 157 as a peptide that can be supplemented with orally, and that there's been some great improvement in clients with celiac disease, gut health issues, SIBO. And I think it's, life starts in the gut. I mean, if we have an unhealthy gut, we are unhealthy. So keeping the gut as healthy as possible is crucial to hormone balance and longevity. And then finally, the practices that we do, all part of the Keto Green lifestyle: gratitude and meditation and getting out in nature and getting good night's sleep and setting our circadian rhythm. All of the practices that I write about in the Hormone Fix and Keto Green 16 are essential to longevity. And you guys, it's cutting edge. Get the books, share the books, and tell me your stories. I love hearing about it. And I just had a message in my Messenger app that from a woman. She said that she just started Keto Green 16. She's on day 6. She's lost 5 pounds. She feels better than she has had in years. And I love hearing stories like that. It's not she's not alone. I mean, it's beautiful to hear that. So what we want to do, we want to look at things that are going to increase our quality of life, increase our longevity. Oh yeah, alpha lipoic acid. That's another one, of course, that can be very beneficial to support our longevity as well. But a lot of times it's the no's that make a difference. Saying no's to the toxins, saying no's to laziness, saying no's to negative thoughts that are going to improve, it's going to move the needle the most. So look in your life and think about what your next right step is. And the mantra to love more in your life. Oh, so powerful, right? Love is so powerful. Love is the best medicine. And the more love we have in general, the more love we receive and we get and we return. And I think that's what's so powerful. I mean, just really loving. So love, laugh, and give. That's my 3 words of advice and my mantra for myself: love, laugh, and give. And speaking of mantras, mantra that I would always say with my daughters in the, especially when in their back seat and they were fighting with each other, it's like, pause, smile, look in someone's eyes, and connect. And just doing that just puts that break, that moment of pause, can help reset and connect us back to the present moment and connect us back into our body, and to be in that helpful, loving state that makes a difference for us and those around us. So As we approach the end of this Girlfriend Doctor show, I want to remind you that I am here for you. I am your Girlfriend Doctor, and I care. I want you to awaken intellectually, shine from the inside out, nourish your body, mind, body, and spirit, and connect with yourself and those you love. And remember, I'm your Girlfriend Doctor. There's no such thing as TMI. You can ask or tell me anything. And I appreciate it when I get your questions and your comments. And I look forward till next time. Thank you for being in my community. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel here and get those notifications, and comment below. Let me know your thoughts, what you loved, and what your action step is.